Well, hello everybody and welcome to Jeff's Baking Blog. Today I'm going to be making a blue cheese and fig tart. Now I've already started this video once, but I forgot to turn the microphone on, so I made all the pastry without any sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the video and show you how to do it, but I'll put some text on the screen which shows you how to do it. So that you don't miss out on that. So having made the pastry and chilled it in the fridge for an hour after we've rolled it out into our tin, I'm going to prick the base with a fork because we want to blind bake this, and I have the oven preheating at 200 Celsius or 180 Celsius, 180 Celsius with a fan, or 400 Fahrenheit. And I'm going to line the pastry with this baking parchment, and I'm going to pour some ceramic beans in so that we can blind bake the pastry. Now, because the pastry is overhanging, I'm expecting some to drop off, so I've actually put a baking tray on a lower rack in the oven. So the next thing to do is to bake this for 20 minutes and then take it out of the oven and remove the baking beans and the paper and put it back in the oven for another 15 minutes until it's a nice golden colour. Then it will be ready for the filling. So I'll put this in the oven and we'll get on with starting to make the filling. So what we want to do is to put our 25 grams of butter into the pan. And I have it on a reasonably high heat at the moment, but I'll turn it down because we don't want the onion, the shallots to burn. And as they saute, I'm going to add in the tablespoon of dried thyme as well. So I can see that that's beginning to bubble, so it's getting hot. So we'll put the shallots in. And we'll keep moving them around. Breaking them up. Whoops. Some which are hard to separate and break up, you can use a fork just to break them a little bit. So I'm going to reduce the heat and just let those soften for a few minutes, and as they do so I'm going to sprinkle in the dried thyme and mix that around. So that's our shallots. They're nice and soft now. So I'm going to set those aside to cool down a little bit. while we wait for the pastry to finish baking. Okay, so the pastry has come out of the oven, and we have to remove the baking beans, set those aside to cool down again. And the pastry is still soft in the centre, so it's going to go back in the oven to finish cooking. At this stage I'm just going to scrape off this excess and hope that the rest of the pastry doesn't shrink too much. So it's going back in the oven for about another 15 minutes. And while that's baking in the oven, we're going to make the rest of our filling. So, for our filling, we need 3 eggs, 200 millilitres of double cream, and 200 millilitres of creme fraiche. If you can't get creme fraiche, you might want to use maybe buttermilk or natural yogurt or something. And we're going to beat those together. You don't need to over whip them. Made a mess. And okay, that's that. And then into that we're going to pour our 140 grams of blue cheese, which I've crumbed. And I'm going to stir that around. We're going to set that aside until our pastry is cooked. So, the next thing I want to do is to take our figs. Now I've washed these, I need to just dry the underside a bit. I'm going to take off the tip and just the very base, and then cut them in half. Like that. Right, so then I'm going to turn those over and I'm going to lightly brush them with a little bit of oil. And then we'll set those aside until we need them. Right, so we've got our pastry case out of the oven, and I did actually take it out 2 minutes before the end and just gave it an egg wash on the base, just to try to make sure that it's sealed not properly. So the final thing to do with our mixture is to pour our onions in, our shallots should I say, and stir those around and mix them with the cheese and the cream and the creme fraiche. So that everything is mixed together. And then we pour it into our case. I think that's enough. Just want to make sure I get all the cheese in there. And the final thing to do is to place our figs in. With the cut side up. And I think this 4 is actually going to be enough, because I don't want to overfill. Just like that. Now I've reduced the heat of the oven to 180 Celsius, that's 160 Celsius with a fan, or 350 Fahrenheit. And I'm going to put this in the oven and I'm going to bake it for between an hour and 10 minutes. Until it's just wobbly in the middle. Then I'm going to take it out and let it cool before I take it out of the pan. So I'll be back with you once it's baked. Okay, so I'm back with you now, and I've baked this in the oven for 55 minutes. The recipe on BBC Good Food said for an hour to an hour and 10 minutes, but I thought mine looked as though it was firming up nicely, and I tested it and it was, so it came out after 55 minutes. There's juice in these little wells where the figs are, so the figs have been leaking their juice. The pastry is very, very short and melt in the mouth. As I said before, where it was overlapping, that would drop off and it did into a baking tray, and so I've tasted that and it just melts in the mouth. I'm not going to taste this for 2 reasons. One is that I don't like cooked cheese, and particularly I don't like blue cheese. And the other is that I'm taking it over to my sister for her dinner. So I'm going to put it back into the tart tin and transport it over there. But I have to say, it does look, whoops, it does look very, very nice, and I'm sure she'll enjoy it. I'll give you a report about that on my blog later on. So I hope you've enjoyed this recipe, and if you have, please give me the thumbs up and click to subscribe to the YouTube channel. As ever, in the top corner of the screen here, at the right hand corner, there will be an eye which you can click on to get to the recipe, or you can click a link below this video to get to the recipe. So that's it for today. I'll be back with you with another recipe in the very near future. So until then, happy baking.